Hey there, I'm estate planning attorney Paul Rabelais, and here in this video, we're going to talk about how to inherit a home and all the stuff in it for free. So the deal is, I don't know how many homes there are in America, 100 million plus. They're all going to be left to somebody, so why not have a few of them left to you? So first of all, let me tell you what this video is not. This video is not about how to manipulate someone into preparing the appropriate estate planning legal documents and manipulating someone to leave a house or houses to you. If that's what you're thinking or that's what you're doing, that's wrong and shame on you. So this is not that. However, there are a lot of mistakes made when someone goes through the process of getting their legal affairs in order and they have a legitimate desire, a strong desire in many cases, to leave the home that they have built, that they have paid for. Many people have a strong desire to leave that home to a person. They want to make sure that perhaps child or niece or nephew has a home to live in. Maybe someone struggled and they really want to leave their home to someone and again, provide for a roof over someone's head. So that happens often. However, a lot of mistakes get made and things get messed up. That's what I want to talk about in this video is how to do it right and what things to consider. So let me give an example. Sometimes I use some of these hypothetical old TV shows. One that I watched growing up, if you're about my age, maybe even a little older, you probably remember the show Happy Days. The dad was Howard Cunningham. The son, Ron Howard, was Richie Cunningham. And so let's say Howard Cunningham, he's getting older and maybe Joni's moved off and married a wealthy guy and Howard Cunningham wants to leave his home to his son Richie. So he writes a will. I, Howard Cunningham, leave my home to Richie Cunningham. Simple enough. So, but there's a bunch of problems with that, and let's talk about those. So let's say Howard dies and he has that will. I leave my home to Richie Cunningham. Richie's saying, great, I get to own the home and get all the benefits of that. However, one of the problems is Howard only owned half of the home because he owned it with his wife, Marion. Remember her? So sometimes people try to leave an asset to one or more people, but they don't own all of the asset. They maybe only own half of it. So be aware of that. Now, for the rest of these examples, let's say Howard did own 100% of the house by himself, and he had that provision of, I leave my home to Richie. Well, let's look at a few examples. So what if there's a mortgage on the home when Howard dies? Let's say Howard's home was worth $300,000 when he died. Richie says, oh, great, I'm inheriting a home worth $300,000. I can finally get my life together. However, when Howard dies, either he still has a first mortgage on the home, and let's say that's $250,000, or maybe after he signed the will, he went out and got a HELOC or a second mortgage. And so there's $250,000 left on that mortgage. So is Richie inheriting that house subject to that $200,000 plus debt that Richie's got to pay? Richie doesn't like the idea of that. So that's another concern. So one of the things that Howard will want to address when he's setting all this up, is he going to leave the home to Richie subject to the mortgage, which means Richie's going to have to keep paying the note? Or is he going to provide that the home can go to Richie and other funds in Howard's estate when Howard dies would be used to pay off that mortgage, so Richie gets the home free and clear? So that's another issue. Now, sometimes the wording of these things is just circumstances change, making the wording in the will or trust vague and ambiguous. So maybe Howard in his will says, I leave Richie my home. My home is on 565 North Clinton Drive. That's the actual home address of the home in the show. But then after Howard writes his will, he sells that home and buys another home. And let's say he buys a $500,000 home. And still in Howard's will, it says, I leave Richie my home. My home is at 565 North Clinton Drive. Well, Howard sold that home, bought another home. Does Richie get the new home? That's a really good question. What about all the belongings in the home? Howard, he bought some nice stuff in that house. He's got some nice furniture. He's got some nice art on the wall. And it's his intention that his son Richie should not have to go out and spend tens of thousands of dollars to furnish that home. That's not Howard's intention. But in Howard's will, did he expressly state that the furnishings and the personal belongings in the home went to Richie as well? Because if he didn't provide that, then there are other heirs that Richie will have to share or give those assets to. So that's another important item. What if there's a shed in the backyard and there's a whole bunch of really expensive tools in that shed? Well, when Howard left his home to Richie, does Richie get the shed and all of the expensive stuff in it? Another good question. So now you're starting to see where there could be some real problems with somebody trying to leave their home to someone else. So what do we see a lot of? We see a lot of bequests of home that specifically include any buildings and improvements on the property. You see a lot of bequests worded as, I leave the property that I use as my principal residence at my death to so-and-so. So that covers the move that took place after someone wrote their will, but they still want their principal residence to go to someone. Then you'll also see language, you may or may not see language or should have language in a will or trust bequest of a home that says, I leave this home to Richie subject to any liens and encumbrances. That means Richie's got to keep paying the loan. Or it may say, I leave my home to Richie and any liens and encumbrances attached to this property are to be paid out of the residuary of my estate. So then the executor of Howard's will use other funds in the estate to pay off that mortgage so Richie gets that house free and clear of any mortgage. And then that bequest of the home may or may not include language like, I leave the home, all buildings, improvements, any liens and encumbrances to be paid out of the residuary. And it may also state that this bequest also includes any personal effects located in the residence, maybe at the time of my death. So that would cover all the furniture and appliances and all that stuff that's included in the home as well. So you're probably starting to get an idea of how clear you need to be if you are the one who wants to make sure that you provide a home for someone, or if someone has expressed an interest in leaving you a home, and you may be in a position to not manipulate but educate that person to make sure that they leave it in a way that they intend to leave it, subject to all these little nuances that need to be addressed properly in the estate planning documents. Okay, so a lot there with the home. Hope that helps. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.